Welcome back to Unqualified Opinions. I'm your host, Michelle. Today's topic, you didn't pay for the shovel. Understanding contingency agreements. Let me say this slowly because this is where people get it twisted. A contingency agreement is not pay me if I do all the work. It's pay me if the result happens. Those are not the same thing, and confusing them costs people real money. Here's the mistake that people make over and over and over again. They think, well, if I did the legwork, then you didn't do the full job. While that feels logically intuitive, it also happens to be legally wrong. A contingency agreement is not about effort, it's not about hours, it's not about who filled out the most forms. A contingency agreement is about risk and results. One person takes the risk of getting paid nothing, and the other person only pays if the money comes in. No money, no payment. Money comes in, payment is owed. That's the deal. Let's define it cleanly. A contingency agreement means I only get paid if the thing happens, not if I do everything, not if you do nothing, not if it turns out small, not if you stay happy. If it happens. This is why contingency agreements exist everywhere. Lawyers, real estate, finders, commissions, referrals. And in every one of those situations, the person who benefits still does work. Clients testify. Sellers sign paperwork. Buyers show up to escrows. That does not erase the obligation. Procuring cause, the part that everyone ignores. Now let's talk about the phrase that people hate but courts love. Procuring cause. That just means who caused the result to exist in the first place. Not who finished the process, not who pushed the last button. Courts ask one question, but for this person's actions, would the money exist? If the answer is no, that person is the procuring cause. Here's where things get real. Imagine a policy exists, but it's not being pursued. It's dismissed, misunderstood, it's ignored. As far as reality is concerned, that policy might as well not exist. Then someone comes along and says, hey, no, this matters. This has value. This is worth pursuing. That moment, the discovery, that trigger, that's when the chain of events starts. Without that moment, no claim, no process, no money. That is procuring cause. So this is where people say, yeah, but I did all the paperwork. Okay, and here's the analogy that courts love, whether they say it out loud or not. If someone tells you there's a safe buried in your backyard and you dig it up yourself, you don't get to say, hey, I held the shovel, so you get nothing. Finding the safe is the job. Digging is the execution. Paperwork does not erase discovery. Effort does not cancel causation. Why the argument fails legally and ethically. If I did the legwork worked as a defense, then no finder would ever get paid. No referral would ever count. No contingency agreement would ever survive success. Anyone could just take over at the end and stiff the person who made it possible. Courts shut that down hard. You can't accept the benefit, keep the money, and deny the agreement that produced it. That's called unjust enrichment, and judges, they hate that. So let's land this clean. A contingency agreement is pay for results, not pay for labor. Procuring cause is who made the result possible, not who filled out the most forms. And I did the legwork is emotionally understandable, but legally irrelevant. Once you understand that, the argument, well, it disappears. So if you're going to agree to a contingency, understand this first. You're not buying effort, you're buying outcomes. And once the outcome happens, the bill, it's due.